On the 8th of February 2015, Wilfried Bony won the Africa Cup of Nations with the Ivory Coast, beating Ghana on penalties in the final. 6 days later, he made his debut for new club Manchester City, the defending champions of England at the time, who had signed him for $30 million from Swansea during the January transfer window. Bony had the world at his feet, and it was clear that he was going to add many more trophies and titles to his cabinet. Fast forward 5 years. It's November 2020 and Bony is without a club after being released by Saudi Pro League outfit Al Ittihad. How did this happen? What went wrong for Wilfried Bony? Bony grew up playing football on the streets of Bingerville. Quote, "When I was 13 I stopped playing barefoot, but in the beginning it wasn't easy. With the shoes on, you have less grip on the ball." From the ages of 14 to 17, he trained at the renowned Cyril Domoro Academy, responsible for the development of such megastars as Yaya and Kolo Touré and Gervinho. In 2007, after an unsuccessful trial with Liverpool, the 18-year-old Ivorian was snapped up by Czech side Sparta Prague. His objective was clear at this point. Quote, "I was a man on a mission. Make my breakthrough at the top level and earn enough money to go back home at 35 and live with my family. I knew I had to face a lot of problems. In Prague, the winter seemed endless and I could not understand a single word people said. However, I've always been a good learner and a tough worker." Bony would make a huge impact in Prague, winning the Fortuna League in 2010 and netting 17 times in the first half of the 2010-11 season. Such red-hot form was sure to attract the attention of other clubs around Europe. And such was the case, as Bony was sold to Dutch club Vitesse for $3.4 million in January 2011. Bony hit the ground running, scoring on his debut, the first of a 2-0 derby win over the Graafschap. The 2011-12 season was Bony's first full campaign for the club, and he performed rather well, if not spectacularly, finishing the season as top scorer for Vitesse with 12 Eredivisie goals. It was the following season when Bony would really catch fire and put up some truly eye-popping numbers. He would score an equaliser on the opening game of the season against Den Haag, then not find the net for 2 consecutive matches before going on a real tear, scoring in 6 consecutive matches, including an important injury time winner against Feyenoord and a hat-trick against Heerenveen. On November 3rd, he would score the only 2 goals in a fantastic win over Ajax. This was the first time Vitesse had emerged victorious from the Amsterdam Arena in 11 years, and also their 6th away win on the spin. On February 23rd, he again left with a match ball as he scored his 2nd hat-trick of the season in the 5-3 victory over Heracles Almelo. On the 15th of April, he scored for the 9th match on the bounce in a 3-3 draw with Roda JC. Bony ended the season as top scorer with a phenomenal 31 goals in 30 appearances and received the Golden Shoe. It seemed that Bony was finally going to get the move he so desperately wanted. As though you wouldn't be able to tell from his goal-scoring exploits, Bony wasn't happy in Holland. Bony said this during his 2nd summer with the club. "I've tried twice to get my brother over, and both times he has been refused a visa. They are not even allowed in for a few days, and no reason is given. I want to leave the Netherlands as soon as I can. The Premier League will be my first choice." And there was plenty of interest from England as well, with Swansea eventually winning the race to sign him, beating West Ham to his signature and snapping him up for £12 million in July 2013. After a brief delay sorting out his work permit, Bony was cleared for inclusion into Swansea's Europa League squad. He made his debut on 1st of August, scoring twice in Swansea's first leg rout of Malmo in the 3rd round qualifiers. Bony scored on his Premier League debut, netting a late consolation as Swansea were dismantled 4-1 by David Moyes' Man United. 5 days later, the Ivory Coast forward would score again against Romanian outfit Petrolul Ploiești to help the Swans to the Europa League group stages. Bony would score the only goal for Swansea in a 3-1 loss to Birmingham City as their bid to retain the League Cup ended in a whimper, falling at the first hurdle. Bony would have to endure 6 goalless Premier League matches before dispatching a penalty as Swansea trounced Sunderland 4-0 on the 19th of October. Bony's brace against Stoke would be his last 2 goals in the Prem before a barren spell of 8 league matches as he, perhaps understandably, struggled to find consistency in one of the toughest leagues in the world. He proved that he could do it against the bigger clubs though, as he ended his league drought by scoring a brace in Swansea's 3-2 loss to Manchester City. 4 days later, he would send the fans into raptures with a memorable moment. It was the 90th minute of the FA Cup 3rd round tie against Man United. Both sides were locked together, having scored a goal apiece, although United were down to 10 men after Fabio's red card. This one was heading for a replay. Bony had different ideas though, as he nodded home Routledge's cross to secure a first ever victory at Old Trafford for the jubilant Swans. Bony also chipped in with 2 goals to help the team during the Europa League group stages, which helped to secure a second place finish in the group and progression to the round of 32, where they were sadly beaten by Napoli across 2 legs. Bony continued his habit of scoring against the Big Six by netting in losses to Spurs at the Liberty Stadium and Liverpool at Anfield, and scoring the opening goal of a 2-2 draw with Arsenal at the Emirates. Both Bony and Swansea would hit form at the business end of the season, with Bony scoring 5 goals in the final 4 matches, as Swansea took 9 points from a possible 12 to finish 12th in the table. Bony would end his debut season in England's top flight with 16 goals in the Premier League and 25 in all competition, as he made a big impression at the Welsh club. Bony proved himself to be a well-rounded striker, who could do the job against the best teams in the country and Europe. He possessed a fierce and accurate shot, as well as devastating heading ability, despite not being the tallest of frontmen. He could also deal with the ball played into his feet, capable of beating men with his dribbling, linking up play with a pass, or simply using his strength to hold up the ball. The one thing he really lacked was explosive pace, but this didn't seem to harm his ability to regularly find the back of the net. The only sad things for Swansea fans and football lovers is that we never got to see what an attacking duo of Michu and Bony could really do, as the Spaniard was unavailable for most of the season due to injury. Swansea would begin the 2014-15 season the same way they ended the last, in red-hot form, winning their first 3 games, including a historic opening day victory against Man United at Old Trafford. Bony would fail to find the net in any of these games, and his first real contribution came on match day 5, when he was sent off in the 40th minute of a 1-0 loss to Southampton. He would score his first goal of the season on his return from suspension, burying a low drive to open the scoring against Newcastle. After opening his account, he would go on to score 8 more goals in 13 Premier League matches, including a brace against Leicester, the opener at the Etihad, and an equaliser against Spurs. These goals would take his total to 25 Premier League goals for the Swans, 9 in the current season and 20 for the calendar year, the most of any player in the league. Bony had again managed to attract attention from a larger club, as Man City were rumoured to be interested in acquiring his services. They did indeed follow through on their interest, as on 14th of January, while Bony was away on AFCON duties with Ivory Coast, pen was put to paper on a £28 million deal to take him to Manchester. This made him the most expensive African footballer in history at the time. The Ivory Coast would top their group in the 2015 edition of the Africa Cup of Nations, and Bony would score 2 headed goals as his country beat Algeria in the quarter-finals. The final of the tournament against Ghana would go to extra time, remaining goalless after 120 minutes. Bony would take the first penalty and miss. It would not affect the result though, as the Ivory Coast would emerge victorious in the end, and Bony was included in the official team of the tournament. It was from here that Bony's irresistible, unstoppable and exhilarating journey to the summit of the footballing world would begin to go off the rails. After returning from Equatorial Guinea a champion, Bony would go on to make 10 league appearances for his new club at the business end of the season. These were almost exclusively from the bench, with the exception of wins against Leicester and West Brom, where he scored the opening goal. On May 17th, he would score in injury time on his first visit back to his former club Swansea. Bony would miss most of Man City's pre-season preparations due to contracting malaria while in Africa. Bony would not make the sort of impact everyone expected him to make over the course of the 2015-16 season, and this would be the start of serious decline which Bony would never be able to reverse. He would score just 4 goals in 26 appearances in the Premier League, and 8 in 34 in all competitions. Though the numbers don't provide the full picture, Bony was mostly utilised as a sub, sometimes a very late one, and never really got a run of games in the starting 11. He only played 1,222 minutes in the Premier League. To put that in context, Sergio Aguero managed 2,400, almost double. Bony also struggled with injuries, the most serious of which was a calf problem, which kept him out for 53 days, a total of 12 matches in all competition. Added on top of that, Manuel Pellegrini's unwillingness to start him when Aguero was available, despite Bony showing that he could do the job when the Argentine was injured. Due to all these reasons, we never got to see what Bony could do for Man City with a real run in the side, and in August 2016 he was loaned to Stoke City for the season. If Bony had hoped that going on loan to a bottom half team was going to reignite his career and show Man City what they were missing, he was sadly mistaken. He would make only 11 appearances for the Staffordshire side, scoring 2 goals against former club Swansea. Bony voiced his frustrations to the press about his lack of playing time and his relationship with manager Mark Hughes. It is really crazy when people say you are fine and everything is okay, but then you don't play. I can say it's like maybe to piss you off that you don't play. When asked about his relationship with Mark Hughes, he said, "Not good at the moment, because it's a crazy situation. The last time he says I need to be patient, but patient of what? I don't know. I have asked him and he says I am training well, my attitude is good and I don't need to change that, but why I don't play? I don't know. I do wonder sometimes why I came here." After this disastrous loan spell, Swansea decided that they would try to recreate history and revive Bony by spending £12 million on him again. I think it says a lot about what Man City thought of him at the time that they were willing to sell him for such a massive loss. However, all Bony did by rejoining the Welsh side was prove that there is a reason why the saying "you should never go back" exists in football. Bizarrely, Bony took the number 2 shirt, despite his old number 9 being available. This was the most exciting thing that happened during his second spell with the club, as he was plagued by injuries and the Swans were relegated. He was released by Swansea in May 2019, trained with Newport County, went to the Saudi Pro League, got released again, was without a club for a year, and was picked up by Eredivisie side NEC Nijmegen in January of this year on a short-term deal till the end of the season. So far, he's managed just 40 minutes for the club. So how can we explain this dramatic nosedive in form and fortune? Firstly, I think most people can agree that Man City was not the right club for Bony. Realistically, he was never going to replace Aguero, and he was one of 4 strikers Man City had at the time. Also, they were a team that was very much set up to play to Aguero's strengths, which were very different from Bony's, and he required another type of service and delivery, which his teammates weren't really supplying him with. Added to this, Bony's game has never just been about goals, and he went for long stretches in the Prem without scoring for Swansea as well. But he wasn't dropped because they recognised just what his strength, physicality and hold-up play brought the team, and he never got a run of 8, 9, 10 games in the starting lineup for City. He signed for them in red-hot form and needed to be playing regularly to build the momentum. Aside from Man City being arguably the wrong choice for him, is it possible that contracting malaria had some long-term effects on him? I'm not a doctor, so I'm merely speculating here. I don't think we can point to his attitude, as he showed at Sparta how hard he was willing to work, and we saw from his time at Vitesse that he could bang the goals in even if he was unsettled or unhappy. Perhaps he was making so much money at Man City that he lost a bit of his drive and passion for the game. Although, he apparently turned down a big money move to the Chinese Super League while at Stoke, so that doesn't make much sense. To end the video, it's overall a shame and a bit of a mystery why Bony never managed to maintain his form and reach the levels we all thought he would. But football is dog eat dog, and I guess that is the cruel reality sometimes. Thanks for watching.